Some backstory: I had always known that my father's best friend died his sophomore year of college because of a drug overdose. The year was 1967 and someone had made some kind of speed derivative in the chemistry lab. Greg, my father's friend, had taken it on an empty stomach and had an instant heart attack. They lived together in a dorm called Thorson Hall. He had offered it to my dad first, and my dad said he was too busy to get high. Kind of gives me chills knowing my dad could have died that night. In high school, Greg was a linebacker and thus had shot out knees. He had to sit a lot. My father during this time was a hippie, as much of a hippie as one can be at a conservative Lutheran college in Minnesota. He listened to Led Zeppelin and Beethoven, especially when he was high. 40 years later, I go to the same college my dad attended. It was freshman year, first semester, when the dean of students made his annual ghost story tour to the dorms. He collects ghost stories ever since two female students came into his office, accused him of having a ghost file, and proceeded to tell him the following story. For all of first semester, sometime in the early 90s, one of the girls would see a little boy wearing a red hat sit around in their room in Thorson Hall. She, let's call her Amanda, would wake up the other roommate by screaming, and the other roommate, let's call her Belle, never saw the little red hat boy. Belle was beginning to think Amanda was crazy, and Amanda was beginning to think she was going crazy. This was around the time CD players first came out. Every CD worked fine on the player, but for some reason, whenever they put in a Beethoven or Led Zeppelin CD, they would skip to particular tracks. By this time in the story, I was kind of freaking out. It sounded really similar to my father's story. But I kept listening. My father's friend died when he was 19 or 20, this was a little boy they were seeing. Anyway, fall break comes along and Amanda goes home to relax. Belle stayed in the dorm. One evening she went to bed early. The next day she was in the bathroom when one of her friends came into the bathroom and asked her who the boy was sitting on her bed. Keep in mind these two girls never told anyone, except later to the dean, about this, in fear that someone would think they were crazy. Belle finally believed Amanda. The little red hat boy eventually went away when they asked him to leave them alone. A student asked after hearing the story, but why would a little ghost boy be in a campus dorm? The dean responded, well, I'm not sure. But ghosts don't always come back at the age of when they died. Sometimes they can come back as little kids, sometimes at the age they died. I called my father after hearing the dean's collection of ghost stories. I asked him to tell me more about Greg. He said Greg was a bigger guy, nice, friendly, liked top 40, invested in his friends, and, oh yeah, wore a red hat. I froze. Later I talked to the dean about it, and we think the ghost might just be my father's dead best friend. Famous ghost at the college my father and I attended might be my dad's dead best friend. When I was about 14, my dad took my brother, 11, and I to a spot on the river that had a fun little rapids section on which we liked to float. My dad would let us roam free while he was getting hammered on buds. We wandered upstream for a little until we came a spot on the river that was crossed by a dam. The dam was made of concrete and was submerged by an inch or so, which allowed cars to cross the river over the dam. On one side of the dam was rapids, on the other side of the dam was the most pristine, calm pool you could imagine. It was about 100 F that day and that pool looked amazingly refreshing, so I convinced my brother that we should jump in. Mistake. As soon as I jumped in I was immediately sucked down and back towards the dam. I remember paddling while looking up and seeing the greenish light of day through the water while the bottom of my legs were sucked into who knows what. I am a fairly strong swimmer and paddled furiously, but to no avail. I came to the horrible conclusion that I had just killed my brother and that we were being sucked into a pump, or there would be a grate or something that would jam us underwater. When people describe seeing their lives flashing before their eyes, it is no joke. After what seemed like a minute but in actuality was a second, I stopped swimming and accepted my fate. I felt the washboard of corrugated pipe bump my head as I flushed through the culvert. When I popped up on the other side of the dam I immediately sought my bro. He popped up a second later, bawling. I hugged him like I had never hugged him before. I thought we were dead. To this day, 25 years later, when we reminisce about that event, it gives us both cold chills.